Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Friday afternoon. For the first time in a hot minute, the Oregon Ducks commitment sweatshirt comes back on, and I really big fan of this kid. Four-star linebacker Brilen Hodge committing to Oregon. Now, we'll get into Brilen Hodge, who might be the hottest recruit on the trail right now. This kid did not have a ton of big-time offers way back in the summer, is absolutely tearing it up as a senior in high school. You had Michigan come calling, you had Oregon come calling, you had Texas come calling. Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, they get this one done. Now, where do I want to start with Brilen Hodge? I want to start with something very, very clear. Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks are just completely leaning into your size and speed profile. I mean, you're seeing it play out on the football field in 2025. Go look at this Oregon secondary in 2025. Guys like Brandon Finney, guys like Ifio. It's just a big, fast, long defense that flies around the football field. I look at Brilen Hodge and say that's kind of the storyline here. 6'3", 215 pounds. He's a leaner cat right now. Has plenty of frame to put on some weight. It's a really big, long kid that can fly around the football field. Dan Lanning in Oregon, they're betting on athletes. And at the end of the day, that's what football is. It's a size speed game, man. You got bigger, stronger, faster players. Chances are you're going to win a lot of football games. Give us the good athletes. We'll make them good football players. Man, that's Brilen Hodge. Now, the second thing before we get a little bit more nitty gritty into Brilen Hodge is how well can Oregon close in 2026? And what I mean by that is two different things. Number one, Oregon, just an extremely attractive program to play for if you are a kid coming out of high school. And number one, you're winning at a very high level. But number two, you're winning with a lot of freshmen on the football field. Decorian Moore, Jordan Davidson, Dyer Hill, Brandon Finney. I mean, Oregon is competing for a national championship in 2025, and they're doing it with a bunch of 18-year-old kids. If you're a kid like Brilen Hodge and you're looking at, hey, where do I want to play my football? Number one, Oregon's attractive, period, right now. Number two, Oregon's winning with a lot of kids that are a year older than me. Looking pretty damn attractive. Now, you couple that with the chaos that we're going to see across the sport in the offseason, there are going to be a lot of head coaches and a lot of coaching staffs that are on the move. Guess who ain't going anywhere? Like Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks, now they might lose one of their coordinators to a head coaching job. That program is very consistent. There's not going to be a lot of turnover. There's not going to be a lot of change. Now, when there's a lot of change at other programs and your program's just steadfast going in the right direction, that's an opportunity for Oregon to capitalize on a lot of chaos. How well does Oregon do that in the month of December is going to be a really fun storyline to monitor. Now, we got to get into Brilen Hodge. Before we do, and as always, to the Oregon fans, appreciate you guys. But best way to say is buckle up, because we got a lot of really big football games to play over the next couple of weeks, but we also have a lot of storylines to follow as signing day comes a little bit closer. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into it. Brilen Hodge, 6'3", 215 pounds. My favorite aspect about Brilen Hodge, the trajectory of this kid as a football player. I'm betting on him every single day of the week. Back when he was a junior, there were not a lot of Power 4 programs that were sniffing around Brilen Hodge. He has had an exceptional senior year, really getting better at the sport. I want to bet on guys who are getting better at the sport. That's what Brilen Hodge is. Number two, a really versatile second-level defender. 6'3", 215 pounds. You can tell he's lean. He's not going to play a ton of football for Oregon immediately in 2026, at least in my opinion. But I will say this, the upside's there because he's really big. He's really long. He's going to get big. Yeah, he's probably going to play around 230 pounds when he gets to Oregon, gets in that weight room. He flies around the football field, really active in coverage as well. I mean, he's so long. You drop him into a shallow zone, he is taking up a lot of throwing windows. Can go sideline to sideline, which is really important too. One of the biggest frustrations we had with Oregon last year is it felt like their second and third level just a little bit slow. Brilen Hodge ain't gonna have that problem. You in this modern era of the sport, when you want to beat a team like Ohio State consistently, you got to have athletes. that can go sideline to sideline, run, cover, tackle in space. Brilen Hodge at 6'3", 215 pounds. He's one of those guys that can do it. I think lastly, he's got really good instincts, finding the football, finding the ball carrier routinely. I mean, you can tell he understands the sport and he gets it. You know, a guy like Devin Jackson. Devin Jackson was a freaky athlete that wasn't quite developed between the ears. Brilen Hodge got a little bit better of a sense of, hey, he's a guy that knows what he's doing and has some really good instincts on the football field as well. Know who my player comp is for him. And the Oregon fans, you might have to do some research on him. Cole Sullivan. He's an off-ball linebacker for Michigan. He's very similar body type when he committed to Michigan. Needed a year to hit the weight room. Just a playmaker. Like, it's kind of how you describe Brilen Hodge as well. Now, the next exciting conversation is, let's take a step back and evaluate this Oregon class. I remember back in the spring, people were panicking about Dan Lanning on the recruiting trail. I think many of the Oregon fans who follow this sport pretty damn closely, they were sitting pretty, saying, hey, we probably going to figure it out at the end of the day. That's exactly what we're seeing play out. Where to next? You know, you look at this class and say it's a smaller class. I believe it's 18 commitments. And this is a crazy stat, of which 16 of these commitments are blue chip football players. Where to next? To me, it's on the defensive line, right? Especially those big bodies on the inside. Tony Cumberland, because you had a really good defensive line class. Then you had Viliamu Moala decommit. You had Tom flip to USC. We got to get some big bodies. It's a really hard position to address in the portal. The name I'm looking at here, Deuce Gerald's. And this goes back to the conversation we had to start. And that is there is a lot of chaos across the sport right now. Number one, Deuce Gerald's is one of my favorite prospects in the 2026 cycle. Number two, he's currently committed to LSU. Narrowly beats out Oregon for his commitment. In fact, there were some crystal balls at some point pointing to Oregon landing Deuce Gerald's. Well, he's now at LSU. If Brian Kelly loses that football game Saturday night to Texas A&M, I would not be surprised if LSU makes a coaching staff change at some point in this year. Probably makes Deuce Gerald's reevaluate some things. Can Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks slide in and get this one done? A premier prospect at probably the most important position that Oregon needs to get right. It's a big opportunity. And I think you can say that for a lot of players. We'll just get a better feel of what players Oregon's going to go after late in this process as we get closer to signing day. But you best believe it, Dan Lanning's got a track record. He is going to capitalize late in the process pretty much every single cycle. And I don't think 2026 is going to be any different. In fact, I think this year could be a little bit better for Oregon because there's so much momentum around this team. They're winning so many games, but they're also doing with so much young talent. How does Dan Lanning in Oregon close out the 2026 cycle? I think it's and I don't think it's going to be a huge class. I would be stunned if Oregon signs 25 kids. I don't have that much room. It's a young team. Like a lot of the players that are making plays for Oregon this year going to be back on this roster in 2026. So it's not like you have the room to go out and sign 30 guys. But I promise you, Dan Lanning's going to go big game hunting to close out this class. I promise you that. Is it Tyler Atkinson at Texas? Is it Nick Abrams at Georgia? We'll see who those guys are going to be. But you have a feeling Oregon's going to try to do something late. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.